Hey, welcome to my basement, everybody. We've got Summer Game Fest coming up very soon, and I thought it would be fantastic to have a couple of friends from the video game media community. I've got Michael Huber here, and I've got Daniel Bloodworth from Easy Allies, and they are here to join me to talk about some of the stuff that we're looking forward to. We're going to talk a little bit about the new PlayStation State of Play that just happened, Team Astrobot, and we'll just get into some of the stuff that we're excited about and hopeful for. Let's start with you, Daniel. I know it's been a tumultuous couple of months, or more than that, really, but I think it was capped off by the Xbox stuff that's happened. And I don't want to start on a downer, but I know there's been a lot of heavy stuff that's been going on with people losing jobs and all kinds of stuff. How does the video game industry pivot from that? And I know I feel a little muted in my hype going into Summer Game Fest more than I ever have, like at any E3 or anything like that I've gone to in the past. And it's because the industry just feels it feels different right now, doesn't it? How are you feeling, and how does it pivot from this point, you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've, been feeling like the whole year, when I went to DICE and talked to all the developers and everybody that was there, there was definitely a vibe, and a lot of it has continued with, particularly with Microsoft's, because Microsoft's was like, felt like the least necessary of the closures,
Yeah.
and most painful, I think, for this year. But there's been a lot of obviously bad ones throughout. So I think, like, on that side of things, like, it just sort of needs to stop. Like, I don't know what else will like make it feel better. Like, Huber and I were just talking about a new studio that I learned about this week called Maverick Games,
Mm-hmm.
which is a bunch of former Forza Horizon devs that are making open world narrative driving game with the writer of Skins. You
Okay.
know, and Amazon is backing that, and like, and that's a positive. New studio. That one didn't particularly seem to come out of any kind of layoffs or anything, but it's like being able to hear about these new things that are coming up without the constant deluge of having to talk about layoffs this week, layoffs next week, layoffs because IGN bought a bunch of people, and like we're losing great people in the industry on our side as well. And it's just,
Yeah.
I think it's just, we just got it. We need that to stop happening, and then it'll be easier to get hyped in the stuff, because like Matt Piscatella was saying recently, it's like all you really need is like one great big hit that everyone's into for a quarter,
100%.
and people are like, oh, everything's good now, so.
Yeah. I kind of feel, and this is a spoiler alert because I haven't actually reviewed the game yet because I'm still savoring it, but I kind of feel like if Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door was a new game from Nintendo
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
it would be that game because it's that freaking good. But it's a 20-year-old game, and it's so
Totally.
good. And I feel like that's exactly right, Daniel. I think we need that story of like, oh my God, are you playing this? And we had that like every 2 weeks last year, but we're also, I think, sort of tapering off of the people that had time to play everything like we had during the pandemic. I think in 2023, that taxed all of everybody's time, and it was overwhelming. But God, there was just a lot of good news about the games that counterweighted the layoffs and everything. This year, we don't have as many games. We've got good games, but we don't have as many. But one thing that was interesting, I think, in the PlayStation State of Play that has everybody talking is Astrobot. And what is it about that game, Huber, that makes it so important, that has sort of rallied us all around it and lifted it up? Like it's a big deal that game is coming from PlayStation.
Yeah, I think the first two, the VR one and then of course the one that came with PS5 are so good. Those are such
Yeah.
good games. So the brand definitely has some love attached to it already. But then just the fact that closed the show for PlayStation, when traditionally PlayStation games, are associated with like dark,
Yep.
heavy, third person gritty like action games,
Headshots and
headshots. Yeah. I mean, even the opener of that show was a big 5v5 hero shooter. So just the fact that it ended on a really jolly note and that they just went in. I mean, we saw so many bosses in that trailer. Like this feels like the Mario Odyssey for Astrobot or for PlayStation. So yeah, I think it just got everyone excited because it's not a big shooter or something.
Yeah, it's one of those games like Mario Odyssey, and Nintendo, they're just they're masters at it.
Yeah.
And to their credit, and also that formula, I think, rubs people the wrong way as well. I've had many arguments with co-hosts over the years where it's like, okay, I get it. We've seen these characters over and over again. But the confluence of the Switch just being a massive monster success and these titles being so accessible, it is like the blueprint to inclusivity in video games. And the other guys are all playing in these very, I'm generalizing, but they're playing in these very dark play fields, some of them with excruciatingly difficult experiences that are tailor-made for the hardcore players. And here's Nintendo trying everything they can to just like open it up, to let anybody in the door. And so it does feel, and I think you're absolutely correct, Michael, that to see PlayStation not just make something look so family friendly and accessible, but also celebratory of their whole history, I think is a beautiful thing. Because that's the other thing that Nintendo, and God, I always sound like such a Nintendo fanboy when I talk about it's so hard not to, but it's, I just look at it objectively. Like I see, and it doesn't always work for Nintendo. Like the reason why they should make a 1,000-year door is because they only sold 20 million GameCubes, But yeah, I agree, Michael. I think that was a super family friendly and accessible way to end everything. But Daniel, how did you feel the PlayStation State of Play, went off altogether? Were you happy with it? Did you think it was a good show?
This is where Huber and I are divided. Yeah, I was pretty fine and okay with the show, and like I feel like they had a lot of good stuff that they showed without too many duds. Like I think the biggest dud for us was like Until Dawn remake being there again and just not feeling any need for that to exist really.
It did not look state of the art or new gen or anything at all. It was crazy.
Yeah, but like, some of the new games look promising. I feel very bad and hesitant for Concord because I feel like that game looks great for what it is, but people are just not interested in another one of those right now. And so I don't know what they can do because I feel like, okay, you seem to have good relatable characters with different skill sets. And you're
so much work is clearly evident there, isn't it? Yeah, they put a ton of work.
The gameplay looks tight, and it looks, graphically like it pops really well. And it's just like, I feel like people are just not having a good reaction. And I don't know if anything's going to turn that around until they can play it and judge for themselves.
So you were pretty okay with the show then?
Pretty okay with it. I think that the in hindsight thing for me is two things. No matter what they say, the expectations for a summer PlayStation show are just going to be different. And for them to just like drop a thing like, hey, we're doing this tomorrow. And, regardless of the games being good, they're not the big, giant, huge tentpole first party things for reveals. Yeah. And then the other thing that I do wonder about and have been wondering about for a while is, are we just getting too many showcases throughout the year so that like now the summer shows there's not a lot left because you've had a show in the spring and you've had a show last fall and you had the Game Awards and it's just like everything just kind of getting spread out,
right?
So that by the time
like too many games too fast. I mean, the fact that there were two pretty high profile hero 5v5 shooters or multiplayer shooters like that. I mean, why put Marvel Rivals and Concord in the same show?
Right. It's like when they put
doesn't
Dragon
make sense.
2 and Rise of the Ronin out in the same show back to back and they come out on the same day. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
luck, Rise of the Ronin. And it feels like that here. It's like, well, Marvel Rivals, if people jump in, are probably gonna jump into that rather than the brand new IP. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I can play these guys that look like Guardians of the Galaxy, or I can just play with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I know. It's like trying to take on Fortnite at this point, with a
Yeah.
battle royale. Michael, what did you think of the state of play?
I thought it was pretty weak.
Yeah.
I think the context and the timing is key. Maybe in a pocket a couple years ago, this showcase would have been fine.
Yeah.
But just right now, with the state of the
It's
industry.
June basically, right? Well, it's still the
Yeah.
end of May, but this is E3 time.
Yeah. So, I think, it wasn't a showcase, it was just a state of play, but I think naturally expectations are just a little bit higher at this time, and the fact that, we haven't really heard about any big Sony first party games, so maybe we were like, okay, do they have any that are coming? And then just with all the layoffs and stuff, it's hard not to bring that kind of just like doom
I
and
know.
gloom
I
into
know.
it, when things aren't
I
really...
get shit for talking about it even in my reviews, but it's like we're in the business, like we get to know these people and we want these companies to do well because it's good for us to talk about this stuff with joy and optimism. And it's hard not to feel that pain and that hurt, and we're worried about, are people losing interest in all of this stuff as well? It's hard not to have all of that stuff in there. And so
Completely
we
agree.
want the best out of these things. And it's hard not to go to these shows or watch these shows and go, okay, knock us out, God of War us, remember when Corey
Yeah.
got up on stage and just showed like, we want that, but
Yeah.
they can't
It
do that often.
it is
I
difficult
feel.
because we also like I feel like, it's natural. We want what we want, but like the expectations conflict because it's like, well, we want every PlayStation Summer Showcase to have the big new God
Yeah.
of War or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or whatever. But as those games take longer and longer and longer, we've also said it like, how many times in the past week have we said like Hellblade 2 was shown too early. It took
Yes.
too long from when we first saw it until
Such a
when it
good
came
point.
out. And it really didn't take that long for them to make it. Like tons of other games are on that same timeline. It's just when Xbox chose to reveal that game to the time we actually got it, and some people were just starting to get sick of it.
Well, plus the look of that game suggests it's going to be a God of War killer.
Right.
The quality of the production is so much a leap forward for the whole business that you want the gameplay to also bring it as well, and it doesn't do
Right.
that. I mean, it's still a good game, but it's not like rock the whole. It's not that game that we've been wanting to talk about right now to counter lever all of the negativity. It
And so-
actually added more to.
Yeah.
It did the exact opposite.
But so to that effect, like a lot of people that I've talked to, at Naughty Dog, at Sucker Punch, and at some other third-party studios and stuff as well, who have had that issue in the past. They're like, we're gonna wait, we're gonna hold off, we're gonna wait till it's
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
We don't want to like show it too soon. We're trying to decide when to show it, and pushing back against the higher ups. Like, no, not yet, and so like some of that stuff is actually coming down to the individual studio, pushing back against, PlayStation, top dogs. It's like, hey, wait, not yet, not yet. And the Last of Us multiplayer game was kind of a good example of why you should, because now everyone got interested and hyped for a project that then they decided like, yeah, this isn't the direction we want to go.
I think it's such a good decision on Naughty Dog's part. I know it's a painful one, and they have a game there, that they might be able to revisit down the road or whatever. But I think it was very shrewd and smart for them to focus on whatever they're making right now and just get that together. And I think there is such a precarious situation here with these massive budgeted games that they have to deliver. And these live action or live service things, I mean, that commitment on Concord to release, scripted cut sequences every week, that's massive.
Crazy. Yeah.
That's a massive investment.
That's a big promise.
And like if the audience isn't there, like when do you pull the plug on that?
Right.
Like that is a huge commitment. And it does make me wonder, because it's not just launching the game, it's supporting the game and fixing the game and tuning the game and adding new pieces of content. Like, how do you do that? I guess they keep doing the math on that becomes a better investment than just making you know, a Guardians of the Galaxy game that Eidos Montreal made, which was, underappreciated gem.
Yeah.
But how do you do that math, where you know that there's a ship it and make the money on it, or ship it and hope they come and keep pouring more money in, especially now where people just are so fickle and so overwhelmed by choice,
Yeah.
They had two live service massive shooters in the one showcase, like
I wish video game budgets weren't so secretive. I want to know these numbers so badly.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
and some of these decisions.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about NetEase because I don't cover too much of the free-to-play mobile space, but I did a little digging because, they had a couple of games, right? Not just the Marvel Rivals, but the Where Winds Meet or something, I think is the name of it. The martial arts in the bamboo trees and all that stuff. It looked beautiful, but I don't know. Is that another free-to-play experience that's coming to PS5?
I don't
Do you guys
think so, but I also don't think that was NetEase. Is it? Oh, wait, it is NetEase. Okay.
Yeah, they're publishing it, but they're like have their tendrils in a lot. Like they own a lot of development studios, and they own
NetEase
Quantic Dream,
I've been
which
watching
I didn't
them
know
for the past couple of years. They have been really ramping up all over. Like they bought Quantic Dream. They started up. They got Nagoshi. They got him from Sega, and he's got a studio started up. They've got another guy from Capcom. They've got guys in Austin, they got guys in Canada. Like they have just really been laying this foundation for the past couple of years to hit with huge games like that we have not been associating with NetEase. And may not. That's like part of the thing of like determining whether they're going to become a name or whether they're going to let the studios carry the name like Quantic Dream does. Like they're not going to take over and it's like, oh, this is a NetEase game. No, it's a Quantic Dream game.
Yeah, they pushed Everstone more than they put NetEase. But they sent me the press release this morning and I saw NetEase all over that. But I only associate NetEase with all these free-to-play games. So, but it clearly they have a more premium division as well. I think time will tell if they turn out to be an Embracer type company that has overextended and then has to pull back.
Don't say that name.
I'm sorry. I hope not. But that game did look pretty cool. Actually, I thought that looked pretty sweet. I just don't know it's funny, right? I keep saying this during these streams when these things happen. It's like, I don't want to see your store. I want to see the game. I don't want to see how you're going to monetize. I don't want to see how your DLC is going to come factoring in. Like Rivals does not look interesting to me because I don't want to be nickel and dimed on the costumes and the heroes. I just want to pay one thing and get behind that. That's a value proposition for everybody. They pay that and they get the whole game. I don't think that's the model on that game. I think it's going to be very much Fortnite-esque or Overwatch-esque. But Overwatch, actually, they gave you everything, didn't they? And then it was all a cosmetic with Overwatch 2.
Yeah, I think if you buy Overwatch 2, you get every character, but you can also just play the free-to-play version. I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah, you guys don't do too much free-to-play stuff either?
I played a ton of Fortnite. And I'm playing like multiverses and stuff. I dabble around, but it's hard to take away Fortnite time because that's where my friends play.
It really is. That's what I keep like Fortnite. It's such a jug. It isn't a game. It is the whole universe. It's not a game.
Creative now,
yeah. It's an industry. It's like here's the Fortnite industry. There's the video games and there's the industry over here in Fortnite.
Yeah, I feel like there's a generational split there, at least in terms of like we were talking about this on our show last night too, because it's like, for me, like a multiplayer game, like I just don't get into the forever game that's always sitting on my console. Like
me neither.
If I get into a multiplayer game and like really get into it, like I'm playing it for like 4 or 5 weeks, maybe a couple of months at most, I think, with like Fall Guys or something I kept going back to, or F-099 I kept going back to.
We all have the one, right? We all have the one.
It was still even those games that like I was really into and they were poking fun of me about. Like I was still like at some point, like 2 or 3 months later, it was just not even in my head anymore. Like
Yeah.
I was done with them, and it's not that I don't like them. It's not that like I couldn't play them right now and pick them up and go back. It's just not the way that I play video games,
Mhm.
especially since, I'm trying to put something on a podcast every week,
I
So
know. Yeah. It's funny because we are the evangelists and we love this business and we got into covering it because of our pure passion, and then it becomes the job too. And so we kind of roll out of the normal player, right? Because we have to always be like, and one thing that it keeps being reinforced for me through discussions with my community and other players and journalists and stuff too, is that fun games don't like go bad. They're still
right.
fun to go back to, and
Yeah, well,
every
back to your
one of
Paper
these
Mario
games.
example, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
exactly. You can jump into a classic thing. I'm doing I have a series on EP called side-scrolling superheroes that I started when Spider-Man came out for the PS4, because I always liked those superhero games, but when I started EP, it was all like 3D, 3D, 3D. So there's a whole bunch of these 2D games that I didn't really go back and play too much of, and I started playing them, and there's so much good. Like I had never finished Batman on the NES, and that
Oh,
is
so good.
such a classic. It's such an incredible game. So I reviewed it. So it's been front of mind that as much as Fortnite is a draw, there are like almost every good game is a draw and can take your time, and you can
Yeah.
replay it and find value in it. And a recent one that I just played is Brave and the Bold for the Nintendo
Nice.
DS,
oh
and
yeah,
that's that Way Forward made, and that was total love letter to Batman and all these DC heroes and everything. It's terrific. But
Yeah.
yes, every one of these games is fighting for our attention. I think that's the slow walk that PlayStation has had with their backwards compatibility. They totally understand that. They don't want to give us access to PS3 on PS5 because we all would want that because we all have collections and everything. But I don't know if that would be a good thing for their bottom line. I would imagine their accountants have done the deep dive on all that. Like you can stream the
For
PS3.
sure.
But imagine being able to pop in, if like on Xbox, throw in a
right.
PS3 disc into a
Yeah.
PS5, and it's incredible.
I had a really interesting conversation with a dev from Sony that I cannot name, but
Yeah,
before a big game was coming out, I was like, yeah, they should put like the older games, just like make those readily available for everybody. And they're like, first up, that's money, resources, work. Like even if it seems easy, it's still resources. Second, chances are a lot of people will remember them better than they actually are, so it'll kind
yeah,
of like damage the brand when they go back. And then yeah, just three was we want everyone to be focused on the new thing
yeah,
and not the older
yeah.
stuff. So that was kind of their their logic on it.
And I get that, but I feel like in other media, like they read publish books, they
Ah,
republish music, they do they do Criterion collections of classic movies and stuff like that. There's a value in the archive, value in that
Yeah,
history that we see in other media, and in games we get it. We like in Astrobot, that's really what it's touching on is our nostalgia for all of these PlayStation things. But it is a little incongruous that we can't also just jump back into those games. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if Astrobot was some kind of home-like vehicle to access that content, And it's promotional, but imagine if you in the game you could click and say, okay, I'm going to download this in the back end and play that game later.
yeah,
The mind wanders.
yeah.
I
Well, one
think
thing I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm very curious about the Wizardry
I
re-release
haven't
that
played that
they
yet either. Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like that game is foundational to like
Hmm.
a huge section of our industry, right? Like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy and basically every JRPG is built off of the template of this wizardry game
Wow.
that came out when I was still a little baby, and like I've never
Yeah.
played it.
I
And
haven't played it either.
yeah, I'm so curious to see
Yeah, I
what
want to play.
started
I
this
love what
madness.
Digital Eclipse is doing. I love that company. I love those people.
yes.
Mike Micah, when you look at his list of credits in the games, because those guys have been doing this since the Super Nintendo. Like they've been packaging classic stuff over and over and over, and plus building new things too. But Yeah, I think what they do is so freaking important, and it's just a collection of people that are just trying to curate the living memory, the living history of video games, and make it relevant for modern players over and over and over again. I've got Super Nintendo cartridges in my collection that were made by Digital Eclipse out of Berkeley, where they've collected old Atari games or old Midway games. I love
That
it.
rules.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we don't know what Nintendo's going to do with the Nintendo Direct, but I think
Right.
that's a very interesting conversation. And they're not a part of Summer Game Fest. PlayStation and Xbox are partners. And most of this convo is going to be about Summer Game Fest. But what do you guys think Nintendo does now? They've told us that Switch 2 isn't going to be announced until later. And I suspect maybe they're going to get through Christmas. They're not going to, if it's a console coming out next year, they're not going to be talking about it before the holidays. They want those holiday sales on the Switch 1. But what are they going to talk about in June? Because they're going to have a direct.
Metroid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Metroid. It's
it
time,
is
right?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
love
is
when
time.
Bloodworth
Say it,
says it's
but I think
time.
that will be a cross-gen kind of thing to where it's like
Absolutely.
get a Metroid Prime 4 Deluxe on
Yep.
the new console. Maybe not, right away, but I think it'll definitely get there. But yeah, I think the thing has stayed on their financial sheets every time, and it's still a Switch game. And so yeah, I think that's going to be their big holiday thing. Beyond that, I don't
can't
know.
wait.
Maybe more of these like Paper Mario style and bring something back.
I think they should just go through the whole GameCube thing. I really
Sure.
do. Like Chibi Robo, I think they should bring Metroid Prime 2. Because of Metroid Prime Remastered and Paper Mario for me. Like I loved
Yeah.
reviewing them and playing them back in the day, but it is I don't know. There's a perfect fit on the Switch, and I just love that these
Yeah.
games are being exposed to more people. I actually really liked Origami King as well. I know that was
Yeah, I did too.
I people don't like that game, and I understand it, but I thought that game was really lovely, and it would be cool to see that on Switch. 'Cause that's a Wii U game that hasn't been ported.
Wait, no, that was
But
on Switch.
was it
You
on
think of a
Switch?
different one? Yeah,
Oh,
Origami
I'm
King
thinking
I
of
played
the
on
color
Switch.
one.
Oh,
thinking of-
Color Splash, right?
Yeah, Color Splash. I like that one too. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think that it would probably flood the market if they did all of the Paper Mario. But I think Metroid Prime, I think Chibi Robo, they should do 2. I think they should do 2 and maybe 3 before they put 4 out. And I agree with you guys. I think Metroid Prime 4 has got to come out. But maybe what they do is it's just like Tear or Breath, and they release it as the Switch 2 is launching and as a final game for the original Switch. So they have the
Right.
install base sales, and they also have but if you want the super duper, this is what you get on Switch 2.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah, and it
amazing.
remains to be seen. Like, and this is not something we're going to see in June, obviously, but it remains to be seen how they approach that generational divide, right? Like,
Yeah.
will there be cross compatibility, backwards compatibility? Like I would expect with everything that they've been laying with their foundation of accounts and everything, that your Switch games will work on the Switch 2. But then going from there, or when they release a game, what is that going to look like, right?
I hope F-Zero is so advanced it only works on Switch 2.
Yeah. I think we're seeing a bit of that problem on Xbox and PlayStation right now, aren't we? Like,
Yeah.
I think they've held on to the past a little too long. But I agree with you, Michael. I want there to be these new games that are only going to work on Switch 2.
At
Nintendo's
least F-Zero.
yeah, well, and totally. And they're sitting in that seat of like not having to invest in hardware that's going to break their bank. They're going to make a profit on every console they sell, like they always do. And all of these lessons that they've learned with these more advanced consoles, which are like, honestly, it's like graphic card updates at this point, with the consoles. It's not like I think it's going to be very hard for people to discern the differences between Generation 8 and Generation 9. Like looking at PS4 and PS5 stuff, it's pretty close, like Last of Us Part 2 remastered. I mean, there's games like Spider-Man 2, which really kind of take it to another level in certain ways. Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart, Team Insomniac's killing it. But almost every other game is kind of you know, I Senua's Saga looks impossible on previous generation hardware, but
Right, but at the same time, it's like that's not the thing that's impressing people, right? You know, it's like our
yeah,
hits for the first quarter are, you know, Helldivers and Power
I
World. If
know.
those games looked worse, would anyone care? You know, it's
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah,
Hades 2 blowing
I,
up.
I've been saying I mean, I would love it. I would love the PS5 to have PS3 compatibility, like built right in with an incredible emulator where you could pop your disc in. But I also would love just straight up remasters of these awesome PS3 games that just ran like crap on the PlayStation
Yeah.
3. It was a really
So
tough
many,
machine.
so
Yeah.
many PS3 games that are trapped
Yeah.
for sure. I feel like
Yes.
it's one of the consoles with the most like big heavy hitters that are just trapped there. Like entire
I mean,
franchises.
totally. An unbelievable output too, you know, like
Mm.
all the Mass Effect games, all the Uncharted games, and The Last of Us Part One. I mean, yeah, and lots of smaller, ambitious titles. Yeah, yeah. I guess this episode's dedicated to the memories of the PlayStation 3, which which took a long time to get going, but then
Yeah.
it really did start to rock.
Need that Metal
Okay,
Gear
so
Solid 4.
yeah, Metal Gear. Oh my God, you know, we did the making of that game. That was a surreal
That's
experience
incredible.
working with the Kojima team and
Gosh.
yeah.
I was so much work and so much fun and such a eye-opening, wonderful experience. Those people, yeah, such incredible. I remember telling the guy that was in charge of directing all of the cut sequences. It's like, man, you are just an absolutely wonderful filmmaker. Look at these choices and the way you're. And he started to tear up, you know, because
Wow.
it was, and I was like, oh, I cannot believe what you're doing for us here. And yeah, that was a profound, amazing opportunity, but a beautiful
So
game,
sick.
right?
Love-
Trapped.
So
I know.
trapped.
I know. I know between that and the Vita and the DS and the 3DS games,
Yeah.
like it's crazy. There's so much wicked content out there that people just don't have access to,
Such a
you know?
bummer.
I know. And the imagine the book publishing companies doing that. You can't read this book because you need special paper that you know
Yeah.
we could only find in the forests of I don't like, you know, whatever.
On the forest moon of
we
Endor.
have we have
Yeah.
such unique problems, right? Like just
Yeah,
like no other medium.
I know. It's
Like
that's
it's
what's
technology just to run things, and then you know, even if you try to make things backwards compatible, it's like, well, we've got all these weird controllers.
yeah.
So
All of it
how do you
makes it
make
wonderful and
that work?
special.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
at least with
yeah,
movies, you know, we're kind of held back by streaming. Like our
yeah,
our choices are largely dependent on what is available to stream. But at
yeah.
least if you really want something, you can probably find it online to buy for like, you know, a DVD somewhere for 15-20 bucks, and then
Yes.
that'll usually, unless it's like region coded, which is pretty rare, but usually
Yep.
that'll just work in your Xbox or your PlayStation and you're good to
Some
go.
disc machine that you have
Mhm.
somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, this combo can go everywhere. I was thinking of that Sam Ismail End of the World movie that Netflix just had, where all the power went out and all that they
Oh
were
yeah,
left
yeah,
with.
yeah, yeah, with Julia Roberts or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that was such a good movie. It was so creepy and yeah, Mr. Robot Guy. Okay, so Nintendo, it's basically Luigi's Mansion, which can't wait to play again, and Metroid Prime. That's about all we can kind of predict at this point, right? Like they're not going to like stealth drop a new Star Fox or something on us or anything like that. I wish.
I mean,
You never know.
I didn't. You never
Yeah.
know. That's the thing
You never
with,
know.
with Nintendo is that you kind of never know. So
You know what
yeah,
I
like
love?
we could have a you know some kind of Star Fox collection or Star Fox 64 HD or yeah,
You get
you
my
know,
hopes
and
up.
then like they have a lot of these weird smaller little games, you know, that come kind of out of nowhere
Speaking
too.
of old games, you know what would set the freaking world on fire for the gamers, man? Skies of Arcadia
Right.
Yeah.
on Switch. Bring
Yeah.
that back. And that's like you were talking about, Vic, just like some smaller, you know, older games in between the Switch 2. Like
Yeah.
Skies of Arcadia, I think. It's time.
I would love that. And I love that Nintendo is, God, I hate sounding like such a precious little fan baby, but I love that Nintendo puts so much, like the fact that they made a new Endless Ocean is just so weird.
It's
But
so
Yeah.
weird.
they put it out and they went, this is our new gift, like we hope you enjoy this wonderful, very eclectic game that's very much going to be for this. But they release every game like it's the same, and I think that's so cool. And they will go with these huge things and they know everybody wants, and then they'll go to this tiny little thing that they hope everybody wants, and
Yeah.
I think that's really
The
rad.
other big question that we do know about is the Monolith Soft, not Xenoblade game.
Mm,
Um, I think that's going to be a Switch game,
yeah.
but do I expect that to come out this year? I mean, it's weird because Nintendo has kind of talked like, "Hey, we don't expected this to be a great year before this new console launches." But yeah, I don't know what the timeline on that game is. When
Yeah.
that's gonna actually get revealed and be titled and all of this stuff. It's like, is that a Switch game? Is that a Switch 2 game? I would imagine that as long as it's been working on it, it would have to be at least on Switch at some point, even if it is a cross-gen
Yeah.
RPG. And Monolith Soft is also usually fairly fast.
They are. I
All
know.
of the Xenoblade stuff they put out this generation, it's like, how?
I
And you
know.
helped on both Zelda games, excuse me?
Yeah, I know.
That's crazy.
They're the Insomniac for Nintendo.
Good call.
Always delivering.
Mhm.
What do you think we're getting out of Switch 2? Do you think it's just going to be beefed up specs, or are we going to get something wacky like a second screen and it plays DS and 3DS titles? I mean, what do you think?
It'd be so shocking if they went away from just a
Is
more
working.
powerful Switch, because it's
Yeah.
working so
Yeah.
well. I mean, the sales are just, the
Not only
numbers
working,
don't
but being
lie.
copied, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So I
working
just-
for everybody that's copying them too, which
Yeah.
is like and it's insane that PlayStation didn't jump on that sooner and Xbox didn't jump on that sooner.
And
I agree.
really the only complaint from most Switch owners is like, it's,
Slow.
things don't look as good and they don't run as
Yeah.
good. So they just want a little more power. That's all anybody really wants.
I know.
Yeah, even if you buy an indie game, it's like, it's that gamble of like, should I get it on Switch? I want it portable, but how well is it going to run? Yeah.
Yeah. And that equation has become a lot more of a debate if you have a Steam Deck at this point,
Right.
because I kind of find these handheld PCs, which I'm a huge fan of, they're like the best devices to play last year's games on, like,
That's
and because
such a
they're
good
making them,
sell.
yeah,
Yes.
and they're making them so fast, so that every year there will be a new one, so it will play last year's games beautifully,
Yeah. That's so perfect.
All right, let's get into. Oh, actually, we have. Let's talk about the other big console manufacturers. Xbox has a lot of goodwill to make up right now. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want the positions that Matt Booty and I would love that money, but I wouldn't want the positions of having to dictate the livelihoods of that many people. I mean, that just sounds excruciatingly difficult, and still try to stay with all those studios. Like, how do you play everything? How do you know, determine what is actually going to work and what is fun and what is good and what the business? That's a tough job. But their job now is to walk up on stage and present to us the good news about Xbox. Call of Duty, we know, is day and date with Game Pass. That could be the only way I mean, imagine if they didn't do that. Imagine the uprising if they didn't do that. But what else are they going to show off? Michael, what do you think Xbox shows us that reverses the direction that they're currently in right now?
It's so tough. I mean, I feel like we just went through this with Hellblade, where it's like now the expectations for each of these games is so high, warranted or not. So it's like, okay, I guess we're all just looking to Fable now. And like Fable's got to really deliver.
Yeah.
But, it just keeps putting so much pressure on each of these individual games.
Totally.
But
these
Fable
teams
is so beloved, and it was shown a little while ago, and
Yeah.
That is a really big one. I think it's the next really big, meaningful one for Xbox.
That's Playground, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
I
is
love
very
that studio.
encouraging.
Yeah, they're great. It would be amazing if Peter Molyneux endorsed it or had something to say about it. Like there was, I know he's the butt of jokes, but he's also a visionary person, like he actually did come up with the idea to put this kind of direction together, and he's had great ideas in games. I don't know if it would help though. That's the thing, but it's his baby, right? So it would, I'm old school, so I totally think it would be great if he popped up and said, "I played it; it's amazing." But I don't know if that would help. Daniel,
Yeah,
what do you think?
I think people are skeptical about stuff like that now. Like even like
Yeah,
when a beloved celebrity comes out that people like, they're always just kind of
yeah,
like, "What are you selling
Right.
me right now?"
yeah. You talking about Timothy Chalamet?
I love Chalamet.
Oh, right.
At least he plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jeff needs to pivot with the Game Awards to only have celebrities that are actually in the games of that year,
I agree.
right? Because there's enough of them now. Like just
Yeah,
pull from that, not
totally.
these obscure people that are
Yeah.
walking up at
Like
the stage.
the
That
Future Games show, like they've been having like different voice actors every time hosting
yeah,
their little presentation. And it's like cool. Like, but it kind of highlights like there's somebody to turn to every year that's going to be relevant, and
yeah.
so why not,
Well,
like
and honestly, I know Jeff feels this way. Think Summer Game Fest. This is all pertinent to the topic at hand, but the developers need to become the celebrities. I know there's been pushback away from that. I know that it doesn't always help a team in terms of its dynamics, and they don't want to see one person get all the limelight. It can be a real problem for how games get developed, but we just don't know who these people are. They've completely disappeared from our
Yeah.
pop culture landscape, and it's terrifying. It's not a
Yeah.
good thing.
There's so much
Especially
secrecy. Like I was saying
I
about
know.
budgets earlier, it's so wild.
It's so wild. And then we have these stupid things like Sony misquoting their own top tier game maker and having to embarrassingly take that and scrub it from the
Yeah.
internet.
But
Like,
that
what
was
the hell?
bizarre. Yeah.
Let us just talk to these people. Let us hear from them, put them up on stage, let them present the awards to their own people. Let us know that because they're amazing human beings, like the energy and the creative instincts it takes to, work with a whole bunch of people and put that material out there into the world. That is freaking tough,
Magic. It's magic.
Yeah, it's magic. Yes. Daniel, what are you hoping for out of Xbox? What do you think they're gonna do? What's your prediction there?
Yeah, Xbox is clearly preparing to do an E3 level presentation.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious where that's going to go. Like I know that like they've had all their developers through days of media training, getting ready to go out on the stage and talk about their games, or at least onto a camera. So like there's a lot of prep work that's getting done over there. And I do think they have a lot of things that like in their stable that like these things have got to be getting ready, right? Like Fable, like Huber brought up, they've already shown some bits of gameplay, so that's got to be coming along. Gears has been sitting around since last gen. We had a really big Gears 5 update when the Series X came out. I know that took some resources, but not a full studio. So they've been been running on Gears for a long time now.
Whole different squad there, or a lot of different people there. Like
Yeah.
Rod left, and a bunch of other people have shifted out of what's it called, the coalition.
Coalition.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I am so ready for new Gears.
Yeah.
I love that
And,
franchise. Yeah.
Perfect Dark, we know, has been going through a lot of struggles, but
Yeah.
that stuff was years ago now.
Yeah.
So you would think that they're hopefully getting close to a point where they want to actually show that game for real.
Is there relevancy to Perfect Dark in 2024?
There's not, but
Relevance to spies, though.
yeah.
Evergreen. First person spy craft, like that's I think that sells.
Speaking of spies, though, like I know Zalavier on the indie side has been talking about I Am Your Beast is going to get revealed at something. So we're, see that game in a more, complete presentation.
Too soon
What's it
for
called?
Blade, guys?
I Am Your Beast. It's
I Am Your Beast.
basically like a Jason Bourne style setup, It's
Oh,
like
kick ass.
your
Sick.
That's
former
awesome.
spy running from your organization and fighting back. Yeah, yeah.
I think too soon for Blade,
Too soon
and
for Blade.
I think too soon for the Black Panther game that EA is making with
Mhm.
Cliffhanger. I can't wait for that.
But
Maybe
Marvel
Iron Man though.
1943 might show up.
What's that?
Marvel 1943, the Amy Hennig game with Captain America and Black Panther they
I
showed at
don't
GDC?
think so. I don't
No?
think so. No,
Okay.
no. I have a couple of behind the scenes combos about, but I don't think so. Um, but yes, good. I think some really, really cool Marvel stuff. I mean, we may get a tease because EA is one of the partners with Summer Game Fest. We may get a tease on the Iron Man game from Motive, and I'm fired up about that. They did an amazing job with the suit work in Dead Space, which really shows you how the mechanics could be for an Iron Man experience.
Very cool.
I can't wait. Like, I want a great Iron Man game. That would be wild. What do you
What do you
think
think
about
about
Indiana
Everwild?
Jones
Oh, Indiana.
and
Oh, yeah,
Everwild?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think Indiana Jones is actually, yeah, that's a shoe-in.
we'll be
I
playing
That's
forgot
that.
there.
about that. That'll be out this year, I hope.
Yep.
You will be playing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot all about Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
That
Oh,
that's
that
coming.
that's
is
exciting.
my point though. I feel
Yeah.
like the world, like I love Dial of Destiny. Indy's my
Same.
favorite character. I freaking love that movie. I thought it was a beautiful send
was
off to
great.
the character, and Harrison
Yeah.
Ford was amazing. And I love the way I love that movie. My review is up if you want to watch that. But the world didn't. The world really
No.
didn't care for Indiana Jones. They did not care, and I don't know if they do anymore. And I feel like this labor of love, this passion project of all of these people putting into this, and then the game was revealed, and I think there was a lot of like, I love machine games, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think people are gonna dig this game? Is it gonna hit? Is it gonna revitalize Indiana Jones for people?
I think it will. I think it'll be big, but I think when you're dealing with like the most legendary IPs like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, that level, the expectations are, sales wise, maybe a little higher than they should
Right.
be.
Right.
But
I think that's true.
I still think it'll be a hit.
I
Yeah.
think it really comes down to how that game plays because the name, like, even though people have cooled on the name, and the sequels, like, I think part of that is just because it's like, I think there's a lot of people who's like, well, why do I want to see it like old indie or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think with how good Machine Games is at making games, like, if that game just looks good and plays well, then Indiana Jones is just sort of the thing that gets you to glance at it, and then you're like, "Oh, I'm in."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does feel like an offshoot of Wolfenstein, and I found myself
Yeah.
yesterday just thinking about their awesome Wolfenstein games and kind of
Yes.
missing that. And I
Oh.
feel like that's what we're going to get. It's just this indie flavored Wolfenstein, which will be very fun. But again, I don't know if people are going to be turned off because it's, your dad's favorite character or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
I hope not. I hope that it's a massive hit and it gets Disney going, okay, well, we need some more indie stuff, let's get a short round show or something together, with Key. That would be incredible. I would
Oh
love
my
that.
God.
It sounds like you would too, which is great.
Yes.
My
Temple
daughter,
of Doom
we
is
had
my favorite.
I love those movies so much, man. I saw Raiders 13 times in the theater that summer.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
When it came out, and I was scared to go see it because it had all this stuff about Moses and the tablets and stuff, and I was so anti Sunday school at that time, and I was watching the trailers, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to go and learn about this God stuff, and I saw the movie, I'm like, this is the best thing I have ever seen, and I saw it so many times, and I love that the whole thing, the whole mythology.
That is
And I love Troy, and I think I could tell it was Troy midway through the trailer. I'm like, well, that's Troy freaking Baker. He's in everything, and he's doing a great job. So I want it to be a smash, but I don't know if it will. But we could see Everwild. at Xbox?
Yeah,
Rare?
that was such a weird thing because it's such a typical Microsoft showcase thing where it's like, okay, here's this trailer for this game that Rare is making, and Rare is doing great right now. I don't know if you saw Sea of Thieves PlayStation, uh, it sold
Number
really
one.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so fifth for the month in the US. Uh,
that's wild.
yeah, for a quote unquote old game coming to a new
Yeah.
platform. Um, but it was so funny when it's like we saw this trailer when they revealed Everwild, and then this interview came out later, and it's like, yeah, we don't know what the game is yet. And I'm like,
No.
why?
Stop
Why does
talking.
Xbox do this?
Yeah, maybe that's part of the equation too, is maybe like they need to share the microphones a little bit more, not just as
Yeah.
color, like here are some wacky developers working on their, I like when they do that too, but maybe the developers need to be the spokespeople a little bit more, and we need to hear from their, like Todd, Todd's incredible, but we need more people from the spectrum. They own everybody, inside of these massive teams. We should be hearing more regularly from them. It shouldn't just be, the senior execs all the time talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so PlayStation is also going to be at Summer Game Fest. What do you think they're going to show us there? I have a couple of ideas, but Michael, what do you think we're going to be doing?
Death Stranding 2 is closing the show with a release date. 100% lock it in.
Oh, nice. Are they showing? Oh, so they're going to show. Oh, of course, because it's Jeff and Kojima.
Yeah.
Are they going to? Of course.
Of course.
Are they going to? They're not going to do another video though, right? This is it until their showcase for PlayStation. They don't have another summer.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That makes the state of play even more disappointing, quite frankly. Because they would never do an E3 like that. In the
Their
whole history
own
of the 20.
holding back in their own show to be in another one or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But also they would be more bangers on display, What do you think we're going to see at Summer Game Fest from Sony, Daniel?
Oh, I know Concord said they had more to show next week, so I think
Okay.
I think we're probably not going to see much that's new. I think we're just going to see like extended,
No new surprises.
yeah, extended versions of the things that we saw here,
I think
or
we
that have already
might
been
get
revealed. Yeah,
some hands-on time with Astrobot and Concord. I think those are going to be their front, because they're so close. They're coming very, very soon, which is great. The one thing I wanted to actually say about these video reveals, it because there are so many of them, or how they're tailored, and like every one of these videos is an opportunity to release something. And I know that's a difficult thing to do, but I think that adds so much weight and value to the goodwill and the positivity around these things. They should do that every single time. I feel like there should be some targeted stealth drop, whether it's DLC or a new character or what. It shouldn't just be pre-order. It should be get this right now.
Yeah.
Every
or
time
be
they do
some
these
kind of like a
videos,
demo, right?
a demo for Astrobot, right?
Yeah.
If
Or
they're going to demo it
if
to
they had
us
like
next
a beta
week,
announcement for Concord, like right when it showed that. Yeah.
yeah, it should be like, download this now, jump in right now. I think every video from every one of these big console manufacturers should give you that. It's such a joyful thing, whether it's like an old Game Boy game for Nintendo Switch Online, or Hi-Fi Rush from Xbox is probably the best example ever.
Yeah.
Oh, heartbreak.
I think especially with multiplayer games, it can really help the initial life of it.
Apex
Yes.
was crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They showed everybody that game in secret,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then it's like, here it is. And I'm like, what, excuse me?
Yeah. That's the way to play it, man.
Yeah.
That's the way to play it. Yeah, I think that would be great. Okay, so that's kind of our take on some of the stuff that we're expecting out of Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. But we also have tons of other partners. We're not going to talk about every single one, but 2K is going to be there. Atari is going to be there, and they've been buying and growing. So it'll be interesting. They own television stuff now, which is crazy. Capcom's going to be there. I think they had an amazing show with Monster Hunter
Yeah.
Wilds. That looks so good in the state of
Big
play.
time Resident Evil rumors floating around.
Yes,
So many.
Code Veronica. You're a huge Resident Evil fan. What do you expect to see a Resident Evil thing at Summer Game Fest?
I do, but I also won't be surprised if it doesn't show up. I am expecting it, but when it doesn't show up, I'll be like, oh, okay, like, maybe in a month
that's
or
a
two,
big
they'll
enough
have their
brand they
own-
could put their own video just
Exactly.
on that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think
yeah.
Monster Hunter will likely have a repeat at either Summer Game Fest showcase or at the Xbox show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that they will be back again.
Too
but
soon
yeah,
to
I
get
think
hands on, though, right? We're not going to be able to play that game.
I
Maybe.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know for sure. But
Okay.
uh
It looks great.
yeah, the Resident Evil question is interesting though, because that is something that I could see getting teased in an Xbox show. Especially like, yeah, if Microsoft is wanting to get that attention, it's like, hey, give us whatever the next Resident Evil is, give it to us, and it's like,
Mhm.
and then Capcom is like, all right, you can have Code Veronica there to take that.
It's
one.
wild to think of what the third-party support is going to be on Switch 2, because no one's going to sit out this time. No one is going to like hold back. And Nintendo is, I think they're working with Nvidia on all the stuff, and there's DLSS and all the different ways to shoehorn power into the Switch 2, so it won't be a compromise. And we're going to see all of these franchises on that machine, I think, and they're going to look amazing. They might not look as good as what PlayStation 5 Pro and whatever the next Xbox is, but they're going to look incredible, especially in portable mode. And that's incredibly exciting. And then I feel like Sony and Microsoft are going to be forced to respond with their own handhelds. I feel like they're going to have to do that at some point. We have EA showing up. And let's talk a little bit about EA, because they've got some bangers in development that we haven't heard from for a long time. And I'm not just talking their sports stuff. What do you think EA is going to show us, Daniel?
EA has been doing the weirdest thing with Skate.
Yeah.
Like, they have not been quiet about that game. They've actually been really open with the development and putting out
Which I like.
These long dev diary things with just like looking at like, incomplete assets and like, all right, here's what the playtesting is and what we've been doing. But it's been one of those projects, and you see this once in a while where it's like they never stopped talking, but they're not getting any attention really. Like, it's only like super hardcore Skate fans that are tuned into that stuff.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see when they decide to give it like a more like mass market update.
Is that enough of a group to make Skate work, to make it a success, or do they have to expand out to try to get more people to jump in? Like, how do they get everybody to care about Skate 4 as a free-to-play live service, massive open world experience like they've been teasing?
I think that, yeah, I mean, again, like with how open they've been with things, like I would not be surprised if, they really like open the floodgates for more players to come in and just like, hey, just get in here and start skating, and they've probably had some form of that already. Like I said, I haven't been paying like super close attention. It's like, but I think in a way that, again, like attracts that larger audience. So like, hey, come over here and play, see what we're doing right now, and get more involved. And I think that's definitely a game where an early access groundswell, can get a lot of word of mouth out there and work for them in that way.
Are you hopeful for that one, Huber?
Yeah. I love skate. I love skateboarding. I love that whole scene. So definitely. You said Iron Man earlier, so I'm gonna throw my hat in there. Or I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring, I mean. Yeah.
Oh man, I would love if Iron Man was there. Do you think we're gonna get some Dragon Age?
Dragon Age?
Dragon
Yeah.
Age,
I think
that's yeah. Dragon
I think
Age,
Did I get a little
coming.
taste?
yeah. And as much as I'm hoping for Battlefield, I think it's maybe like 6 months too soon. Maybe like Game Awards or next year before we see
Yeah.
the next Battlefield.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if they have Skate and Iron Man and Dragon Age, that's good.
That's good. Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
good. That's
That's
good
really
for
good.
EA.
Hopefully,
good variety
hopefully
there.
not too many shots of developers in their cubicles.
Oh, the EA,
Yeah.
the EA way. Just no gameplay, no trailers, just people talking about
Just
it.
talking and promising. Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I mean, God, it's hard when these things are so far out, right? Like I feel like we are moving closer and closer to here's what's coming. You'll be able to buy it next week, or here's the early access for it next week. I feel like a huge chunk of the industry is going to move towards that. I think we're learning some big lessons about revealing too early. Um, and, I mean, this isn't part of the convo, but how much AI is going to be employed to help soften some of these difficulties. Because there's no way it will not be employed at this point. We can't go back. When George Lucas, who's 80 years old, is at Con telling an interviewer that complaining about AI is about the same as a person saying that cars are not going to do well and they're riding their horse around. It's this, that's analogous. It's like, okay, well, I trust in George. He's kind of called a few things over the years, but it freaks me out because I'm worried about jobs and the sort of people impact that AI is going to have. But I mean, Druckmann's talking about it, and there's some very, very smart people that are trying to figure out how to implement it to make some of these things more quickly, and
Cheaper,
that might help with these release
quicker.
dates and these budgets, and keeping us hungry gamers satiated, and like last year was stupid, but it was unbelievably exciting, wasn't it?
Oh,
Like just
one
to
of
go from one thing, it's like, what? We
Yeah.
have another 9 out of 10. What?
Mhm. In terms of quality, one of the best years for video games ever. Just a
Yeah.
little way down because so many people lost their jobs.
Yes.
So in one way, it was like the best year for video games ever, and then in another way, it was kind of the worst year.
Yeah. It was balanced out. But if we can, I mean, it becomes a question of time, which I'm always thinking about too, is like how much time do people have to play, especially if they're, stuck in Fortnite, as their gaming escape throughout the week. But that's why I was bummed with Senua Saga, because it was like the promise of a beautiful 6 hours that was going to be mind blowing. And it is in its production, but it didn't really like it's no God of War, and I hate to compare it directly to that, but imagine if it was like the game that I always think about that delivered as a AAA experience that really left me wanting more, but was so profoundly beautiful was Eco on the PlayStation 2. And I finished that and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to leave this world. It was so beautiful and so well realized. But I did. That was the end. And I thought, okay. And it was a short game, a full price game, but it was powerful. And I don't know if we're going to have more games being made because there's, smaller teams and AI and an appetite for more. Where does time in a busy person's life kind of fit into that equation? That's another podcast. Let's see.
So many choices.
Yeah. We know that Star Wars Outlaws is going to be there. We know that Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be there. These are imminent titles.
Excited about those.
Yeah, me too. I want to play both of them. They look great. Honestly, Star Wars Outlaws is the game I'm most excited for. I love Massive.
They're so good. I think this game is going to be so good.
I agree.
The Division 2 was like one of my favorite games that year. I just think it's such quality. And then, of course,
they're
Avatar.
they're incredible developers. What was their first game? Was it Massive Destruction or something? Or it was like their first RTS. I remember reviewing that on the show back when it first came out, and it was like a turn-based 3D.
Was it like World at War?
World in Conflict?
Yes, I have that game.
Yeah, incredible. It was so ambitious. Like, who are these guys out of Sweden? They're just crushing it with this thing, and then they just never not delivered. They've just been really good all the way along, and they're like one of these superstar teams at Ubisoft, and I think have their own culture and their own vibe. Can't wait for this. And I think we're going to see Batman on Quest 3. I haven't got an appointment or anything like that for that. Have you guys, do you know if that's going to be there or no?
I don't think that's going to be there.
I saw Ryan Payton again. That's Camouflage. Okay. And I saw Ryan Payton talking about that he'll see us at Summer Game Fest. Okay. And the trailer's out.
He's in Jeff's show, I think, but I don't think playable.
Okay. God, I want to. I can't freaking wait. Those guys are amazing. Let's see. SNK. I think I don't know if this has been revealed, but I kind of know what to expect. Do you guys know what to expect?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it, but I think we're going to be seeing some pretty fun stuff from those guys. Yeah, that's the thing. We're trying to talk a little bit about the predictions, but we know a few things and we don't know what we can say.
Yeah, I've been working on these appointments for 2 months. I know about a lot of things.
Yeah, totally. One game I would love to see, and I haven't done any appointments or gotten any press releases or know anything about, and maybe this is an SGF event thing that Jeff puts out there, but I would love to see something on the Wonder Woman game that Monolith is working on.
Yeah. Yeah, we've only really heard bits and pieces of that, so I have no idea what to expect there.
Yeah. What are you hoping for is the biggest surprise, other than Metroid Prime 4, which won't actually be at SGF? Why don't we start with you, Michael?
Realistically, Ghost of Tsushima 2 would be that would blow my mind.
That's your realistic?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say, I was going to say like Shenmue 4 or like Streets of Rage 5 or something, but those feel like, Ghost of Tsushima 2 feels like a real game, and the first one was a while ago.
Yeah.
I feel like you got a better shot at Streets of Rage 5.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, probably.
That's a PlayStation Showcase huge title, but then they've got the Naughty Dog game, which I think they're going to want to create distance from. I don't think they're going to drop the reveals. They're not just going to stack these bangers in one big show like that. I think they're going to try to create some distance from those, because we've been waiting so freaking long, Maybe Wolverine, though. Maybe we get gameplay from Wolverine in the SGF. Marvel's just taken over.
I don't see any big Sony things showing.
No,
we haven't seen other than Death Stranding. And Death Stranding is not even really because of Sony; it's because of Kojima.
Yeah, because they would have put it in their state of play. Yeah, I agree. Actually, yeah. So, Daniel, what are you hoping for?
Couldn't they do like a little double dip where they show, something as crazy as a Ghost of Tsushima, and then, hey, big showcase in July, more details or something?
Yeah. That's a lot of goodwill to SGF. Yeah. And the other thing that's happening, which I'm not going to because my schedule's packed, is there's the IGN Live as well. And so what are they showing off? And do they have exclusive reveals there too? Why did they do them at the same freaking time? What are they doing?
My description, at least internally, of IGN Live is it's their booth on the E3 show floor.
Yeah.
Just expanded to the public. Right.
Okay.
So that's my expectations out of IGN Live. So it's like they are going to have, some exclusives and things like that for sure. But I think they're also just going to be showing a lot of the same demos that we play over
and interviewing the developers in a live kind of setting. Yeah, makes sense. They have the manpower and the budget and stuff like that, and use it.
Totally. And a lot of community stuff there as well. Like it is, a lot of that there is to have a public thing for fans.
So it only enhances SGF in a way, which is good. It's weird that we don't have E3, right, guys? Yeah. Like it's freaking weird because it's like we're building it up again. It's like the streaming services. We let them kill cable, and now we're building cable again. What the hell are we doing?
So
what are we doing?
I know.
SGF is so much cheaper though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
they just need more space for everybody to be in the same building essentially, so that Huber doesn't
Yeah.
have to walk 15 minutes to Ubisoft.
It is
Yeah.
weird. There's
I
like
actually, I really love
yeah.
SGF. It's been great the last
Same.
few years.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's great to see everybody. But Daniel, what are you hoping to see? What that we haven't talked about? What's the thing that your fingers are crossed for?
Um, they just teased it, and so I'm very curious about this Dragon Quest uh
Oh,
3,
2D, 3D?
possibly trilogy HD 2D remake.
Oh yeah, man.
I have the
Goaty.
thing is like
Goaty.
I have that gap. So I
Yeah.
played the original Dragon Quest, when it
Yep.
was on NES. I played Dragon Quest 4,
Or DS.
2
Yeah.
and no, it was also on NES.
Oh, an NES. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But then they had those sick 456 on DS.
Yeah, they did a lot. They did
Yeah.
a lot of remakes back in the day. For even like Dragon Quest 1 and 2 came out on Game Boy at some point too. But like 2 and 3, like I've never played. Because partly
Yeah.
with when I was a kid, is like the games that I played were the games that my friends owned. It's like we'll go over here and it's like, oh, somebody's got Dragon Warrior, cool, we'll play that. If somebody got Final Fantasy, cool, we'll play that.
That's
Um,
great.
but there's a lot of those gaps where it's like if it wasn't at a friend's house and it wasn't at a rental store, I just didn't have a chance to play it.
Mhm.
Like very, very few games that I
I
had actually convinced my parents to buy.
Well, I love that Square is, as good as Nintendo at kind of digging into their like to play Live Alive. I'd never played that before.
Yeah,
That
right.
was amazing. That was such a freaking cool game. And in fact, all these 2D HD games have been so surprising, like Triangle Strategy and the Octopath
Yep.
Traveler games. I love those games. They're just so good to see a
That's another
Dragon
big
Quest thing like
one
that.
though that should probably, I'm gonna guess, is gonna be in Jeff's show, but could be an Xbox, is the new Mana game, Visions of Mana. Because
Right.
I played that a couple months back at Square Enix's
Well, Square
place.
Enix isn't a partner.
Right. So maybe Xbox then.
Right.
Because they don't have to be a partner Summer Game
True.
Fest to
Yeah, and
be, yeah.
now we're talking about all of these different shows, and they're all bleeding into each other. It's going to be busy.
Yeah.
One thing I just found out about is this Blade Runner game, Blade Runner 2033 Labyrinth from Annapurna,
Mhm.
and
They're making that internally, right?
they are a partner. Pardon me.
Annapurna's making that internally, right? They spun up a team to make that game.
I think so, and they're a partner at the show. And I've got an appointment with them, but I don't even know what the hell I'm seeing or whatever. But I just found out about this just now as I was putting some, talking points together. So I'm flipping out because a Blade Runner experience is something that I
Yeah.
really like, a really beautiful fidelity Blade Runner experience.
Oh my
I
gosh.
want that.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited for that. It's such a great fit in video games. It's
Mhm.
like Tron experiences and Blade Runner experiences. Why can't we get these things to be state of the art? We've
Yeah.
had some okay ones, but I feel like every gen we should get a new kick at it because these games are so seminal to the look and feel of everything. They're like it's Star Wars and Tron and Blade Runner. They've
And aliens.
and aliens. Yeah, they have just influenced every sci-fi experience that we've had in games since they came out. So I'm super psyched for that. Finally, I think going to get some hands-on with the Plucky Squire. Have you guys played that at all?
Plucky Squire.
You're gonna,
No, it looks so
I have not
good.
played it. No.
I feel like we're going to get hands-on.
Okay,
Oh, I hope
that would
so.
be cool.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, I know that like Devolver's doing their birthday party,
Yeah. Yeah, I
but it
love
didn't seem
Devolver.
like they were doing discrete appointments. So yeah, that's over at the birthday party. Heck, I'll celebrate.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that. And then
Give me a
I think
party
the
hat right now.
big time. And I know. Like this is making me want to reach out to everybody. Just like, okay, what do I do? Like make sure that I want some hands on. The big RPG that we didn't talk about is Metaphor Refantasio. And I mean, that looks amazing, but I don't know what the hell is going on. Are you guys psyched about that experience?
yeah.
I love Atlas's stuff. They always surprise me. They always kind of humble me with their inventiveness.
Yeah.
And I never know what the hell is going on. Like they're always so weird.
I think this game is going to be game of the year material.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be absolutely one of the top games to come out this year. I mean, we all love Persona. So, them getting to do their own brand new thing now, just like getting their creative juices popping instead of doing another Persona, I feel like they're just going to run wild with it. I've very high hopes.
The thing is it's not like, especially from like the last big like deep dive that they did, like it's so clear that it's not, oh, it's just Persona again, but in a fantasy world. It's like, no. This game is not structured like any RPG that I've ever seen before. And so it has got me very, very curious. Like there are some familiar elements, but they're also talking a lot about like, hey, let's reduce a lot of the pain points so that dungeons don't get stale and boring and repetitive. And it's like, okay, yes, please do. And then bringing in, character designers from Evangelion and all these other collaborators to just make this crazy, bizarre new fantasy world.
There's just so much love for these guys, right? Like there's just so much respect for how creative they are as game people, as game makers, that they have the choice of collaborators, which is going to be incredible.
Yeah. And then on top of that, this whole weird concept that they talked about where it's like, in their world, our world is the fantasy. And I'm like, what? What does that going to have to do with anything?
I'm always scratching my head when I play Atlas games. I'm like, what the hell is happening here? They're so cool, but they're always so weird. They're delightful because of that. I love it. Okay, you guys, I think we did a pretty good job. I mean, what I'd love to hear is from our viewers and listeners. Let us know in the comments on the stuff that you're hoping for and predicting, and how you feeling right now, the vibe that you have about the video game industry, and I guess more, specifically the AAA experiences out there. What are you hyped about? What's bumming you out? Let us know in the comments below. But Summer Game Fest is coming up very soon. I hope to see you guys and hang out with you guys, share a drink with you, chat about all this stuff. I'm going to have a little camera with me, so I may pop both of you guys on camera for a quick second and just get your thoughts on what you played and what you've seen.
We will cross the streams.
Right on. Right on.
Yesterday we just squeezed like 2 tiny half-hour blocks in between Huber's appointments for him to just run around with a camera.
It's so busy, right? Like Jeff is clearly, and his team have clearly been building and getting more and more people. The business wants this. But E3 was too expensive, and whatever happened, they screwed it up, But it's going to be so freaking great to see you guys live and in person, and to see all of our buds and the developers that are going to be there. And this business is beautiful, and it's just a heartbreak to see it have any struggles and problems, because it's not normal for our crowd. Usually it's like, oh my God. But let's hope that's what we come away from Summer Game Fest feeling, just with a lot of new, hopeful optimism for the entertainments that are going to be headed our way. Something tells me we will. Something tells me we're going to have a great weekend.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, this was wonderful. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. We've got Daniel Bloodworth and Michael Huber from Easy Allies. Make sure you're following them on all of their socials and on their YouTube channel. It's just youtube.com/Easy Allies. Yes? Yep. You guys are great. And say hello to your team for me and your mothers. Say hello to your mothers for me. And we'll see you next week at Summer Game Fest. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember, you can watch these Vic's Basement episodes on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/EPNTV, where all of our classic episodes that start from way back in 1997 have been premiering every weekend, Saturdays at 9 a.m. Pacific. And it's a premiere, so I'm in the chat talking about all these classic old episodes and my floofy hairstyle and my one sweater that I wore in every episode. It's a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thank you guys. We'll see you soon. And until then, play forever.